You know, our resident healthy living expert, Sheree Clark from Fork in the Road, always says we have to use good quality ingredients when consuming various products. She's been showing us this for years, and she always mentions some kind of nut milk, be it, you know, almond milk or cashew milk or things like this, and she makes it from scratch. So we always told her, you need to show us how to do it. So that's exactly what's going to happen right now as we head over to the Wood Harbor kitchen as Sheree Clark shows Jackie how to make nut milk right now.
Hey everybody, I'm here with Sheree Clark from Fork in the Road in the Wood Harbor kitchen. Now, Sheree, when you've been on our program before, you're always giving us special tips on how to make healthier choices in our lives, and you've talked a lot about nut milks,
Yes.
nuts that you can milk, I guess, things like that. And you can buy it in the store, already done, prepackaged, but you've told us before that you can do it yourself, and obviously it'd be a little healthier for you. And we're going to show you, hopefully today, how easy that can be.
And then not only is it healthier, it tastes so much better.
Oh,
That's
okay.
the best part about it. You're going to really, you can't even tell the difference. You don't even want to compare the two.
You know what's in it. You know what's going to be good for you. It's just when you hear making your own nut milk, that doesn't seem like an easy process.
Oh, and it's so easy. So let me show you exactly how to do it.
We're going to do it right now.
So today what we're going to do is we're going to make a walnut milk. And I picked walnut milk because a lot of people do almond milk. That's the kind that you buy in the store. But we don't have our minds open sometimes and think we could do walnuts, we could do pecans, we could do hazelnuts, and any kind of nut will just about make a milk. Yes.
Do you have a preference? Is it walnut, or do you have a preference of what you like to make?
I like almond, but I also like walnut. And it depends on what I'm going to do with it. A lot of times I'll put it on granola, and if my granola already has some nuts in it, I might pull out what the nuts are and add it to the milk. So it makes a really nice balance. So when you have walnuts and you buy them in the store, this is what they'll look like typically first. You'll just, you know, you buy them and they're dry and whatnot. The first step in making any kind of a walnut milk or any kind of nut milk is to soak the nuts. So the soaked nuts that I have here are these guys in this bowl. It's just simply tap water, or you could use a purified water, and I'm just putting some water into the bowl and letting the nuts soak. These have soaked probably about 6 hours, and you can see that the water has turned dirty.
Right.
When you're done and you're ready to make your nut milk, you're going to drain that off, rinse off the nuts, discard the water for sure. You don't want to use that.
Kind of dry them off?
You don't even have to dry them off. What you're going to do then is just leave them in this, I put them in the container.
Now, typically when you do this process, how many nuts, or like a bulk or a little at a time, or what would you normally do?
If I'm going to make a quart of milk, my ratio that I like to use is approximately 1 to 3.5, meaning 1 cup of nuts to 3.5 cups of water.
Okay, good to know.
So I've got about 3 cups of water in here and about a cup of the already soaked walnuts.
They've already been soaking for about 6 hours. Minimum, would you say?
You know what? The cool thing in my world is there's a lot of fudge factor. So if you only soak them for 2 hours, you're still going to get good milk. If they've been soaking for 13, it's still going to get good milk. That's the nice thing. So here's the thing.
Do you ever soak them too long?
If you soak them too long, they might start to disintegrate. What you're going to want to do if they're soaking for a long time, let's say you were going to make nut milk tonight, but somebody invited you out. And so you're like, well, maybe not tonight. Rinse them off, put them in the fridge, and then before you use them, soak them one more time. So quickly, and then rinse.
So they've already been pre-soaked, drained, and now we put them in another 3 cups of water.
Exactly. So now I'm just going to put them into a high-speed blender. Now I'm using a Vitamix high-speed blender today. If you don't have one and you want to, if you've got just a typical traditional kitchen blender, you're going to want to do a couple things. One is to soak the nuts just a little bit longer. The 2-hour rule, it doesn't really apply if you've got a kitchen-style blender. You're going to want those nuts to get really soft. Soaking does 2 things. It softens the nuts, and it also takes away that dark water stuff, the enzyme inhibitors. So you're going to want to be mindful about that. So soak them a little longer and blend them a little longer. So we're just going to blend these for about 90 seconds because I have a high-speed blender. If we had a kitchen blender, we might go maybe 2.5 minutes. Okay, let's turn this on. Okay, so now we've blended that thoroughly, and what we've got inside is the beginnings of our nut milk. What we want to do, though, if you take a look in there, and you can see running down the sides, there's a little bit of granulation. So we don't want gritty milk. So what we're going to do is we're going to strain it through a nut milk bag. So if you hold
nut milk bag.
Yes.
Where does one get a nut milk bag?
You can buy them at a natural food store typically. You can buy them online, or if you wanted to, in a pinch, you could also use a paint strainer or an old pair of pantyhose if they're clean.
Make sure they're clean.
Make sure they're clean. Okay. So now I'm going to have you pull this
you cinch
tight.
it up.
Yep.
Okay.
And then what I like to do is I just put this around my hand so that I don't let go of it. And now you're going to milk the cow.
Oh.
You're just going to squeeze that. Yep. Let that.
So it's true. You really can milk anything.
You can totally milk anything. So what's happening here is that the fluid is coming out through the bag.
Okay.
And then left behind is going to be the pulp from the nuts. And the pulp is good for a couple things. One,
can you reuse that at all?
You can use that in cracker recipes. You can dehydrate it or dry it out and use it, grind it and use it as a flour. So it becomes a gluten-free flour, and you can use it in baking and those kinds of things. The other thing that I like to do sometimes, depending on your pet, is stir just a tiny little bit of it into just like some dog food.
Really?
Yeah. So be mindful and investigate the kinds of nuts that you're using to make sure that you're not doing anything to be harmful to your pet. Okay.
And there's no way of that pulp squeaking through.
No, because you've got a nut milk bag that has not got any holes in it. If you get a hole in your nut milk bag, you can just set it, then you're going to have some issues.
All right.
Okay.
Wow.
So you can set that in
really
there.
That's way more milk than I thought I was going to be able to get.
Yeah. So set that in there, and then now what we've got is the milk itself. Now it's good just the way it is. It could just be plain milk, and you could just certainly do that if you wanted to.
Okay.
But what I like to do is I like to sweeten it just a little bit. I'll just put a little bit of maple syrup in there.
Now, can you use other kinds of sweeteners when you're doing this? And we're doing this just because it's what we're used to when we drink milk. We're used to it having a little bit of a sweetness to it.
I like it with a little bit of sweetness, and I'm going to be using this on granola, or we're going to drink it straight from the glass. So I like it to have a little bit of sweetness.
Right.
I have a sweet tooth.
So do I.
So, and I think maple and walnut go really good together because maple walnut ice cream.
Right.
But you could use stevia if you want to avoid sugar.
Okay.
You could. Sometimes we'll put the milk back in the blender and make dates to sweeten it up.
Okay.
You could use honey, but honey's a little bit more of a pronounced sweetener flavor. So be imaginative and try different things. I also like to put a little dab of vanilla in there.
Which we've taught you how to make from scratch.
We have done that
before.
Exactly. So there's the vanilla. So now that is done. Basically, we could put that back in and serve it up to the family. And I've got some that I've made previously that is actually already chilled.
Now, something else you've brought in is some Himalayan salt.
Yes.
If you want to add a little other distinction of flavor.
You could certainly do that, absolutely. And I love to
Hawaiian,
add
I should say.
a little bit of salt in there. Sometimes we'll bring the flavors up, just pop them a little bit more. So that's a good point. I like to add salt sometimes to the milk, which sounds like a funny thing to do, but it really does change the flavor.
Now, is there anything else we need to do? Like, obviously, we're used to normally drinking milk cold, so you want to refrigerate it a little bit to taste or use ice. But I mean, is there really anything else that you need to do?
No, I made this morning for us, and I put it in the fridge so that it would be cold, so that we wouldn't be drinking the room temperature milk we just made.
And it's that simple.
It's that easy, and well, you taste it and you tell me what you think.
My first batch of walnut milk. Ooh.
That's what I'm saying.
That works.
It's like a milkshake.
And really quickly, tell us the health benefits of doing something like this as opposed to what we buy at the store.
Well, for starters, you know exactly what's in it, and you see it's just a handful of ingredients, and I have complete control over what's in there. The other big thing is there's no preservatives and there's nothing objectionable. So when you read the ingredient list of something like a nut milk, it's got all kinds of things. Sometimes there's scientific sounding names that you don't even know what those things are. There's nothing scientific here. It's walnuts, vanilla, a sweetener, boom, we're done.
Don't have to worry about hormones or other things that a lot of people are worried about in their milk these days. And it's so simple, folks. If I can do it, you can do it at home. But of course, if people have more questions, want recipes, what's the best way to reach you?
They should contact me at www.fork-road.com, or you can give me a jingle at 515-249-2992, and I hope that you do.
Thank you, Sheree, so much. Make your own nut milk. We just showed you it's so simple to do.